All right, so I made a lot of videos in the past about how to book flights with your points and miles, and while there are definitely great use cases for it, I think there are a lot of times when it honestly makes more sense to just book in cash. I'm at a point right now where I really value simplicity because I'm limited on my time, and so I really don't want to transfer points for every single flight that I'm booking. That being said, today I want to break down the 3 use cases where I think it actually makes sense to book with points and miles instead of in cash. And like I've done in the past, I want to make sure I contextualize with actual real life examples that I'm going to show you guys real time. So I'm not just talking through hypothetical, oh, you can get a 50,000 point round trip to around the world. Like, there's tons of people out there that do that. That's great. It's a possibility, but today I'm going to show you guys what you could really do with these points and miles if you actually look. So jumping right into it, our first use case is going to be for international premium tickets. And I'm talking about first class or business. This is what I would consider by far and away the most valuable use of your points, just kind of full stop in terms of valuation, but also the #1 use case when it actually makes sense versus paying in cash, because these are usually what I would consider like aspirational flights, at least for myself. I'm not personally booking a $10,000 one-way ticket to somewhere internationally or overseas on a daily basis. So this one definitely makes sense for me and hopefully for a lot of you guys out there as well. Showing you guys here on my screen, I've looked up this flight from San Francisco to London, LHR. This is next month, well, it's actually fairly shortly here. And we'll see that there are some options here for about $5,000. Okay, so give or take $6,000 on American, and with some partner airlines, with British, Alaska, it's like $5,000. Cheapest $4,000, but those are probably terrible layovers. So this is the cash price ticket. This is kind of what we used to benchmark in my past videos. That's what I called it in terms of what it would cost if I was just booking this in cash. Remember, we're looking at first class tickets here because this is, again, a use case where I think it actually makes sense to use points and miles instead of actually buying this for $5,000. You could spend that $5,000 to do a lot of things when you actually get to London instead. Now, if we go to this other tab where I've already looked up the flights on American in points for this same service, we'll see the columns here for main, premium economy, business, and first. So if we scroll down here, we'll see that if we sort by duration, because again, I don't want to book a flight that's going to be terrible with my points. That defeats the purpose of saving money if you're not saving time, right? So scroll down here, we'll see that within first class, again, we want to compare apples to apples here. So first class, under the category for first class here, our first option is going to be 166,000 points one way. This is for the 11 a.m. to 9 a.m. the next day, arriving in LHR. So this is only 13 hours with 1 stop, which is actually not too bad. And if we go back to our benchmark, that being this flight right here, this is actually the same one. So if we'll look at the flight number, it's American Airlines 1996, and then American Airlines Flight 20 from Dallas to LHR, yep, 1996, and then flight number 20 out of Boeing 777. So this is for a real first class product from SFO to LHR. So just to show you guys a real life example of doing this search and contextualizing the actual cost saved there. So $6,000 at a 1 cent per point value, that means that it would be 600,000 points, or you know, what that should cost here, right? Now, this is of course the same flight. The other way of thinking of it is this is 166,000 points, which at 1 cent per point is only 1.6K, give or take. So you're getting more than 3x value. International premium seats, definitely a good use case. And I would say probably one that I plan on using the majority of my points for are upcoming international travel, when I want to book an aspirational flight that I otherwise wouldn't pay cash for. So the second biggest use case where this actually makes sense to use your points and miles instead of booking in cash is going to be domestic flights when you're pretty close to the date of departure. So this is pretty much like last minute flights where you didn't plan in advance enough, and now you want to book a flight to leave like tomorrow or the next couple days. Now, you guys have seen videos in the past where I've shown domestic flight options that really allow for this, because instead of having instead of having dynamic pricing due to basically supply and demand for the airline, when you're booking in cash, sometimes there is standard fares based on the award charts, which means that within a certain distance band, which is the distance to your destination, you're going to pay the same price no matter what time it is that you're actually booking. So for this example, we're looking at a flight from San Diego to Washington, D.C., Dulles. That's my real home airport, actually, and that's going to be $400 for these options. We'll see Alaska and United here and some cheapest ones a little bit lower, but again, we don't click on that tab because it's going to give us some terrible layovers. So 400 bucks. Today is August 27th as of the making of this video. August 30th is what I did the search for, so it's literally if I wanted to leave this weekend. Am I willing to pay 400 bucks for a flight one way? I'm not sure, but if we use our brain and we look at our award transfer partners, we can take a look at Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles, which you guys know that I love and still use every now and then. The same flight from San Diego to DC on August 30th, this Saturday. We'll see that there is a direct flight option, nonetheless a red eye, but it's this flight option, San Diego to Dulles, no stops for 10,000 miles. That at a 1 cent per point value is 100 bucks. And I think you guys know this is like one of the biggest sweet spots that I keep putting out there, and I should be keeping honest with you because there's going to be less availability the more that I talk about this. But for the sake of this video, it goes to show that this same flight, let's look at the exact one. So this is San Diego to Dulles, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. So this is the same flight here, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. on a Boeing 737. And we're not talking about first class seats or anything here. This is just close to the date of departure. There's very limited seats available because the airline's upcharging the tickets due to the proximity to the departure date. This is what we're looking at in terms of pricing. And this is definitely a use case where I think it makes sense to book using your points and miles, especially if you have them. So you're basically paying what would be 100 bucks in value from your points. Versus $400, so you're getting more than 4x in the value there. So domestic tickets, domestic seats that are close to the day of departure, kind of last minute seats flying within the US, the second best use case, in my opinion, for booking flights with your points and miles. Now, for the third example in this video, we're going to be talking about peak travel times or using your points and miles to book during holidays when otherwise, due to demand, again, the prices are going to be more expensive for cash price tickets. This is, again, when you can really save a lot of money by booking with your points and miles if you have them instead of booking in cash, just because of the demand around like the holidays when everybody wants to travel essentially. So with this example, we're looking at a flight from Seattle to Atlanta on Monday, September 1st. September 1st is Labor Day. For those of you guys that are here in the US, you would know that's a holiday. And because people want to take the long weekend and to take advantage of that, sometimes flights can be very expensive, as we see here. So the best option, I guess, is with Alaska. But then we've got some Delta options as well. And it looks like everything's around $500. Okay, this is again, one way. We're not talking about first class, but this is just for a holiday that you're trying to travel on. The price is going to be more expensive, right? If we go to Air France KLM, I've already done this search here. We're looking at this same flight, September 1st on Monday. That's going to be 6 a.m. to 1:46 p.m. This is a direct flight for 17,000 miles, okay? Now, I would say that's pretty good compared to what you would otherwise pay for 500 bucks. Now, for those of you that know, Air France KLM is part of the SkyTeam Alliance, which is one of the smaller airline alliances among the three. And it is a good option, at least in most cases, to be able to find award seats for booking on Delta, right? So if you'll see here, this is a Delta flight, which is indicated by the logo there, of course, but also because you would know that by looking at your benchmark seat, which from here, 6 a.m. to 1:46, so that is this exact flight option from SeaTac to Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson, and this is 544 bucks that you would pay in cash versus the same seat that's available booking with points and miles for only 17,000 miles, which is 170 bucks if that was cash value, right? So again, just a great way to utilize or leverage points and miles to book an otherwise very expensive flight for no particular reason. Well, not no particular reason, but because the demand is high. But you can oftentimes get around that with these standard fares based on distance bands for particular airline alliances and transfer partners. So those are pretty much the examples I want to show you guys for this video. Again, I wanted to always apply some context here and like kind of what you can actually find in real life and not just show you guys a hypothetical thing that this is possible based on the distance band. If you look at the award kind of charts, while those are helpful, it doesn't actually do anything when it comes to actually looking up the flights. And so hopefully this helps you guys with understanding kind of the key use cases around when it makes sense to utilize your points and miles for booking flights. There are definitely other situations in which it definitely makes sense as well to use your points and miles, like if you just have a ton and you don't want to pay in cash, things like that. But for myself, the big three ways of kind of using your points and miles for international premium tickets, that being first and business internationally, then those last minute domestic flights here in the US, and then of course traveling on holidays when those fares are going to be, higher with the airline just due to demand. So if you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If there's maybe a use case that I missed that you guys like to use, definitely let me know in the comment section below as well. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.